Hello, Tri-Cities, and welcome to the 2021 Vote for Business Candidate Forum. It's the only region-wide business-focused candidate forum in the Tri-Cities. It's brought to you by the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. In this forum, you'll hear from candidates running for Richland City Council position 7 at large. I'm Julia Thatcher. I'm a news anchor with Keeper Action News, and I'm pleased to be with you. As a reminder, voting begins as soon as you receive those mail-in ballots. Those should start arriving in your mailboxes around October 13th, and voting will continue through Election Day. That's Tuesday, November 2nd. Thank you for joining us today to learn about the candidates' thoughts and positions on issues that impact our local economy and our business community. And now a message from the President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce, Lori Matson.
Thank you. I'd like to take a brief moment to thank the Chamber's Board of Directors and our Local Government Affairs Committee for their leadership in supporting the advocacy efforts of the Regional Chamber, and especially our sponsors, AYB Drafting, Cascade Natural Gas, and Hayden Homes. The Chamber supports positions that preserve and promote a positive business climate. As the foremost advocate and voice for business, the Chamber leads the region by advancing policies and positions that strengthen business and improve the local economy and quality of life. The 2021 Vote for Business Candidate Forum is designed to highlight how candidate positions integrate with local business priorities. And finally, a very special thank you to our local news partners for collaborating on this project. Your time, talent, and expertise are valued and truly appreciated. Now a word from one of our sponsors.
Hi, my name is Arthur with AYB Drafting. AYB is excited to sponsor the Vote for Business campaign. We understand that local elections are very important to the business community, and we're happy to support them. Thanks for watching.
Thank you both. And of course, it's a pleasure for Keeper to support this effort to help inform voters about people who are running for public office. And now to a look at the forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening and closing statements. The candidates will be asked the same questions. Response time for each candidate is limited to 2 minutes. Time limit reminders will appear on screen at 10 seconds remaining, and if necessary, when time is up. And since this is a forum rather than a debate, candidates will not be provided rebuttal time. And we'll begin with introducing in alphabetical order the two candidates who are running in the race for Richland position 7 at large, incumbent Michael Alvarez and challenger Kurt Maier. Welcome, and thank you both so much for being with us today.
Thanks, I'm glad to be here.
And as we mentioned, we'll start with opening statements in alphabetical order. So Mr. Alvarez, you will begin with your opening statement. You have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is, once again, is Michael Alvarez, and I'm a city councilman for the city of Richland. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I continue to serve my country under the Department of Homeland Security as an active member of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. I've been a successful business owner of a financial company for almost 3 decades here in Tri-Cities. I am proudly endorsed by the Richland firefighters, professional organizations, several trade unions, community leaders, and supported by thousands of Richland residents. One of my many campaign promises I promised was the following. The previous city council approved a 20-year term to pay off the Dupertel Bridge. I worked hard to get the bridge paid off in 4 years, saving Richland taxpayers 16 years of payments. When reelected, my goal is to continue to reduce emergency response services for fire and EMT services. I think it is a very important issue in such cases as cardiac arrest and life-threatening issues that we require quicker response times for better outcomes. Once again, my name is Michael Alvarez. I'm your Richland City Councilman, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Alvarez, you now have 1 minute for your opening statement as well.
Thank you. My name's Kurt Maier. I've lived in Richland for almost 6 years now. I've lived all over the country, mostly because I moved around serving in the U.S. military and as an Army brat growing up. I was an Army reservist and served some time on active duty as well. After I got out, I've spent my life in public service, either at state or federal level. I'm currently a supercomputing engineer and manager at PNNL, and Richland's where my family has decided to build their future. And I feel strongly that there are improvements that can be made within the collaboration of the Tri-Cities and inside Richland City Code. And I'd like to be a part of making those changes happen. Thanks very much.
Mr. Maier, thank you. And a coin toss just prior to this taping has determined that Mr. Maier will answer that first question. Subsequent questions will then be altered. We'll begin with that first question. What can the City Council do in regards to tax regulation that will promote our region as a smart place to do business?
Well, the initial steps that can be taken relate more to regulation than to taxation. The city code's a mess. It's largely outdated. It's inconsistent in places. As I mentioned in another forum earlier, the parking code alone is over 6,000 words long. And the only revisions that happen to code like that are when businesses identify a specific need for a specific building, and then they come in and advocate for a specific change. There's been no effort or attempt to retain professional assistance in driving down and doing a systemic update to the city code. And I think that would be the first step toward making Richland and the Tri-Cities more business friendly. Right now, the onus is on businesses to interpret the codes among the various cities and figure out which ones apply and which ones need to be updated. And I don't think that's a fair task to push on to the local business community when we have city councils that are supposed to be doing that work for them. Taxation is another question. There's almost no way to answer that question without making somebody angry. But I really think that if we start with streamlining the code and making sure that it's in harmony with the other cities in the area, then it's going to naturally be an easier place to do business. And any place with a lower cost of overhead, lower friction, is going to be seen as a smarter place to do business.
All right, and Mr. Alvarez, it is now your turn.
So, being an owner here, a business owner here for about 30 years in Tri-Cities, pretty sensitive to our business environment and as well as sitting on city council. So a couple of things. About 2 weeks ago, I was a very strong advocate and a driver. We at city council went ahead and put in a proclamation that stated that we highly oppose any type of local income tax for our residents and for our businesses at this point in time, period. And so, we update our city charter. We've even talked last Friday when we were doing our city council retreat that we were to update our city charter, that we would put that in there and opposing any local income tax, especially on our local businesses. So that's one. Another, as far as regulations, I've talked to the director of economic development for the city of Richland. Matter of fact, about a week ago with our interim city manager. And we've talked several times about updating some of the regulations and some of the codes within the city. And those things are being done. I like to see them more uniform. So some of the, especially in the planning department, where I see developers and builders going to those permit departments, trying to get permits for their construction. I like to see some of those things a little bit more uniform across the board in the Tri-Cities, so they can when they apply in Kennewick and then they go to Richland, some of those things are uniform, so they know what to expect. So I think updating our code, I agree with Kurt. Those are some of the things we're working on. Actually, those are happening right now as we speak. So I think those are some of the things that we can do as far as promoting this to be a good place to do business in Richland. We're actually implementing from the American Rescue Act funds. We're actually putting in broadband in certain areas of Richland so that we can bring other businesses into Richland for phones, high-speed internet, those type of things. So I think there's a lot of things we can do, and there's a lot of things we are doing right now to improve the business community. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the second question. And as a reminder, we're altering. So Mr. Alvarez, this question will begin with you, and then of course we'll switch to Mr. Maier. This second question, current labor shortage impacts local business. As a city council member, what can you do to foster, attract, and retain talent to build the next generation workforce?
That's a really good question. And we have some of the best tradespeople here in Tri-Cities, along with a lot of professionals as well. And so we talked about this as we're talking about the American Rescue Plan and those funds, and be able to implement some of those funds for our local businesses here. And I think the Tri-City Chamber is going to manage some of those funds for business assistance. I think what we can do is, once again, put the infrastructure in place here for broadband, high-speed internet, telephones, those type of things. Make it user-friendly where we can bring other businesses in to the Tri-Cities to attract those jobs. So I think that's one of the things we can do. It really comes down to, when it comes down to the labor workforce, I'll be honest with you, I think the state and the federal government needs to go ahead and change some of the policies so that people want to get back to work, because I think people want to get back to work. There's people that are nervous about the coronavirus, but also, I spoke about this about a month ago on City Council, that we really need to help our workforce and our businesses to bring people back in, whether that's bonuses, sign-in bonuses, those type of things. But that's really private industry, and a lot of them are doing that right now. And so that's going to be a tough challenge to get people back, but I think people are eager to get back to work right now, and I think we all can go ahead and support that by the Chamber, TriDec, all those type of things in collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maier.
I'm not entirely sure I agree with the characterization as a labor shortage. It's not like half of the workforce evaporated over the past couple of years. I mean, obviously there have been horrific losses due to COVID, but it's not as though the young workforce is the primary victims of this tragedy. So I think what's happened instead is that the stakes are higher now, and people have realized that they're not willing to work if they can't support themselves on the wage that they get for it. And that's half the problem right there. So one thing that is going to have to be in the hands of our employers, because the city of Richland can't force anybody to do anything about it, but people are going to need to start paying a meaningful wage. And that's already happened around many businesses throughout town. There are the businesses that have to tape signs up in the windows when they can't find help. And then there are the businesses who have figured out that they need to pay a meaningful wage, and those get to stay open. The other half of the issue is, once you've earned that wage, you need to be able to afford a place to live. And that's something that a lot of people seem to think is expressly the city's problem, and I don't believe that. I think it requires cooperation between council and establishing managed growth in the urban growth zone, in concert with private developers, to make sure that housing is available across the spectrum, because the sort of worker whose income depends on high quality broadband, and believe me, I know, because that's me, is working for a different class of income than some of the lower income people who make up the majority of the current labor shortage. So I think that if you install infrastructure for high paying white collar jobs, that's what you'll get, but you'll wind up severely negatively impacting the service sectors and some of the other traditionally lower paying wages. So I think there's a balance to be struck between making the area livable and making sure people earn enough money to support themselves. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maier. And this third question will begin with you. As a city council member, what specific investments by the city will you champion to encourage diversity of business and economic growth in Richland?
Well, the investments, I think, would be inward. I think I mentioned earlier in my desire to see the city code revised. There are professional services that can be engaged to make sure that that's a smooth transition. And I want to be clear that that's not a minor undertaking. It's the city code is large and complex, and it would be absolutely an investment of significant dollars to retain professional help in making sure that a revision of that code to a more stable and understandable and relevant base turns out to be something we can adopt smoothly, rather than the typical approach to such things, which is to piecemeal it over the course of 20 years and claim it's being fixed. So the investments in the Parks and Facilities Department as well, I think, would be wise in the pursuit of making sure that Richland is the place people want to live, and where people live, they will want to work, and the business will follow on its own. And so, for instance, I'd be interested in seeing cities services in South Richland ramp up significantly, and I'd be interested in seeing priority investment on some of our existing retail centers, so that rather than every new business needing to build a new building, we have the opportunity to bring people into existing infrastructure and leverage existing population centers. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Maier. Mr. Alvarez?
So, I think one of the things that I talked about a little earlier was the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The city of Richland would be receiving about $7.4 million on that. And we have about 13 plus 100 acres of prime industrial and commercial property out there in North Richland, the Horn Rapids area. And so we talked a few weeks ago about promoting and putting in infrastructure down there, sewer lines on that 1,300 acres. We're looking at putting broadband for high-speed internet and telephone, so we can bring other businesses and diverse businesses in the city of Richland where they may not have those amenities. So I think that's very important. I wouldn't run a business if I didn't have high-speed internet or telephone services or anything that I could do to run a business in any city. And I think also quality of life. I think quality of life is an important thing as you improve the quality of life for your citizens, whether it's our parks and trails. I was a former commissioner on the Richland Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm an outdoors person. I think we need to go ahead and invest in our waterfront, keep our parks and trails up. I think as far as emergency services, I'm very pro that. I want to make sure that we have emergency services. The average response time for fire and EMT is about 4.5 minutes. Throughout Richland, North and Horn Rapids, we just built 2 more fire stations. I want to go ahead and really push. I've been an advocate to build another fire station in Badger Mountain South to reduce those response times, because in South Richland, it's about 14.5 minutes, almost 3 times the amount of time it is in other places. So quality of life, so that people want to come here, work here, move here, and bring their businesses here. I think all those things are important for us. And so I'm very pro-business, and anything we can go ahead and do, we're doing. And I think a good thing is putting infrastructure in there and updating our city codes where they need to be updated, and maybe make some of them uniform and work with other city councils, other city managers to do that. I appreciate the question. It was a good question. Thank you.
And the fourth and final question, Mr. Alvarez, we will begin this question with you. The My Tri 2030 Regional Vision Project is a community-driven effort to drive collaborative action. How do you see the cities collaborating, coming together to solve shared problems and advance regional initiatives?
Oh, that's a really good question. So one of the things I've done since I've been on city council is reached out to city council members, city managers in Pasco and in Kennewick, and I've made a lot of good relationships with all of them. I know the majority of them, we all pretty much get along. And the great thing about that is not only, I feel like I'm a pretty easy person to get along with, but I wanted to do that on purpose so that we had those relationships built and we had some trust already built. So when we needed to collaborate with, whether it's the county or within the cities, we could do that, and we have those relationships. Some of the things that I think of when we were doing collaboration is I was a very big advocate of the Tri-City Animal Shelter. I was one of the first council members to visit the Tri-City Animal Shelter in Pasco, and it was very embarrassing to see how that was dilapidated. So we worked hard to go ahead and get the funding. All 3 cities, we needed about $2 million to rebuild that. The city of Richland was about $1.5 million. I was able to find half a million dollars more. Talked to our mayor, said, hey, we can do it here without taking away from projects or raising taxes or fees. We were able to come up with $2 million along with the other 2 cities. So we're going to have that built. Another collaboration, I think, is CCOM or Benton County Emergency Services. That was a big collaboration within the county and the cities for emergency services, all to be in one place. And I think that actually goes out to Prosser all the way to Walla Walla, I believe, and it goes from the county sheriffs, both county, Franklin and Benton County, as well as the cities. So those are the things that when we can come together to work together, those are a couple of examples I see coming together. But we need to have those relationships, and I think we could do great things here in the Tri-City. So I'm very positive. I said also on that My Tri 2030, and there's a lot of collaboration there, whether it's in farming or agriculture, energy, and education is another one that we've done real well here as collaborating within the Tri-Cities. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Maier.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea for the leaders of respective communities to get to know one another and be able to work together well. But I also believe that the Tri-Cities is more than just Kennewick, Richland, and Pasco. And if you zoom out and take a look at the sorts of ground we're covering here, and it really should be a full-time job. And the city currently doesn't have anyone doing that. There should be an official liaison position within the city government to effectuate these interchanges, because otherwise every single new outreach is a brand new start from scratch outreach. You know, we've done relatively well with a lot of the interplay, but there's every one of them has to start from ground zero, and you can't build, for instance, an education collaboration easily on a police action collaboration. So it would be better for the city, for all of the cities in the area to have an official liaison program with funded staff to do that work and make sure that these things can happen smoothly with a single point of contact between these institutions. And I think that there's an opportunity for Richland to lead the way here. It doesn't need to be everybody appoints a liaison or nobody does. And so I think that's the crux. And once we get a good relationship management expert in place within the city staff, then a lot of this stuff is going to come a lot easier. And of course, this gets back to city codes and how they're different between different adjoining towns, and everything from bowling alley hours to parking minimums changes when you cross certain streets in the area. And once we have somebody handling that stuff, we'll be in good shape.
Thank you so much. And that now closes the question and answer period. And we'll end the forum with closing statements. And Mr. Alvarez, since you went first with those opening statements, we'll begin with our closing statements with Mr. Maier.
Thanks very much. I didn't decide to run because I thought that I was the magical genius who was going to come and fix everything. The fact is, I enjoy public service, and I'm always looking for an opportunity to participate. I've been on the board of trustees for the Richland Public Library for 5 years now, and it's fascinating, all of the moving pieces that happen, and running a city the size of Richland is a complicated and beautiful machine. And I think that machine can be made more efficient. And I've seen documents from throughout the years, many of them are on file at our library, proposing improvements and promising improvements and laboring toward improvements. And I really think that what we need is to make them happen. So that's my plan.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Alvarez, you'll also have 1 minute.
Once again, my name is Michael Alvarez, and I'm one of your city council members for the city of Richland. I've been told that my extensive finance, business, and real estate background has brought value added to city council, and also has helped other city council members make better decisions based off comments and questions I've asked staff during some of our public city council meetings. Once again, I am proudly endorsed by our Richland Fire Department, Richland firefighters, several trade unions, professional organizations, community leaders, and supported by thousands of Richland residents. Why? Because they believe I'm the right person for the job to represent their members, or hundreds or thousands of members that work and live in Richland. I want this job, and I'm asking for your vote. And if I have your vote, I'm asking you to ask your friends, family, coworkers who live in Richland to vote for me as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both very much for taking the time to be with us for the Tri-City Regional Chamber's 2021 Candidate Forum, featuring candidates running for Richland Position 7 at large. And as we begin to count down to Election Day, again on November 2nd, please remind your friends in Richland to watch, share, and of course, get out and vote. You can find this video and other candidate forum videos on the Tri-City Regional Chamber's website at www.tricityregionalchamber.com. And again, thank you to the Chamber, to Keeper Action News, of course, the candidates and the sponsors, including Cascade Natural Gas, AYB Drafting, and Hayden Homes. And a special thanks to all of you for watching. And again, I'm Julia Thatcher with Keeper Action News, reminding you to get out and vote.